You're listening to TGI Sports Talk with your host, Keith Angle, on Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good morning, everybody. It's Keith Angle for TGI Sports Talk. How are you this beautiful Sunday morning? A little chilly, but it's beautiful so far. As I say that, the sun goes away. We're streaming live from East Greenbush, New York. Still the first streaming sports show on the on all the outlets: Facebook, YouTube, Zodiac TV, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Spotify. You think of it, we're broadcasting there, guys. Listen, before I get started, I want to say thank you to my guest Friday, Denny McLean. What a great interview we had with Denny. I enjoyed our conversation. He was very open about some of the things that went on in his career, both during his baseball career and afterwards. So I thank Denny for that. Also, as always, I want to thank the groups that do join us. Or let me share the show too. Obviously, it's gone down a little bit because, as you know, Facebook still has not put the TGI Sports Talk page back up. So the only groups I have to share to are from my private page, my personal page, which is still a few. And I thank you for letting me share it. Hopefully we'll get TGI Sports Talk back soon. If you have not sent them a message on TGI Sports Talk's behalf, please do so. If you don't know, they've taken the page down without any explanation. And it's a bit frustrating for Keith, to say the least. Anyway, enough of that. Let's welcome our Zodiac TV viewers this morning. Glad you guys could join us. Good morning, Dave Guyette, for popping in. Good to see you. First in the room almost always. You broke your streak a few weeks ago, but that's okay. Thanks for showing up every week, Dave. Guys, this week we'll also be looking at a lot of stuff. I'm going to have Jim Beringer on from the Last Word on Hockey. We're going to talk about the NHL. We're going to talk about the Tom Wilson, Artemi Panarin issue that happened up this week and the problems between the Caps and the Rangers. We're going to talk about the firing of John Davidson and the GM, whose name's escaping me at the moment. Sorry. And we'll talk a little about the NHL and some firings. We'll get into the end. We'll get into Major League Baseball, and we'll talk about the standings. We'll talk about the Yankees and the Mets. We'll talk about the no-hitter this week and the 4 that we've had so far this season. We'll get into the NBA, and we'll talk about, again, the playoff run there, some issues with the Knicks, or some things going on with the Knicks, the Nets, and across the NBA a little bit. And if we have time, we'll talk about the NFL. We do have to talk about the Hall of Fame inductions as well, by the way. That'll be covered on Northeast Streaming Sports. So make sure that you tune in this week. We'll be letting you know some more information about this as we go forward. So briefly, before Jim gets on, Jim Beringer from Last Word on Hockey, it's been an interesting week in sports. You know, it's a lot going on. Obviously, we're coming to a convergence. We just finished up the NFL draft. The NFL does a great job, by the way. If I don't get to talk about the NFL later, I'll talk about it a little bit right now. NFL does a great job of covering or keeping their league covered year round. You've got the season, obviously, from Labor Day on, right through to February. You got the Super Bowl. Shortly after that, you've got free agency. Only a few weeks after free agency, you've got the NFL draft. A few weeks after the NFL draft, we'll have the announcement of the NFL schedule, which will be this week, by the way. Good point that I had not brought up earlier. And then the camps start, OTAs start. And then they go into full training camp, and then the season starts again. 12 months a year, NFL gets themselves on the back pages. Great job by the NFL. The other sports can't compete with that. They just can't. They're trying to change their models to do it, but it's very, very hard. And the NFL's found a way to do it without oversaturating themselves. So some interesting stuff going on there. If I don't get into it later, maybe I'll talk about it a little bit right now because I don't know. I'll get into it later. Aaron Rodgers, obviously we know the issues with Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. Ridiculous. Watch my vlog from Friday. I mean, good grief, Aaron. I'll get into it later if we have time. But my feelings on Aaron Rodgers are he needs to just wake up. I mean, this team has taken care of him very, very good over the years. And now and he hasn't given anything back as far as money goes to make the team better. They've given him opportunities to win, and he hasn't done it. They've been in a position. He was in 2 Super Bowls, won one, could have won another. I mean, you're not good enough. The players are around you good enough, but you're good enough to get to the Super Bowl and a bunch of NFC championship games where you don't get it done, Aaron? Come on. Zach Wilson, the Jets quarterback, first-round draft pick, second pick in the draft. I mean, he had some good things to say. Again, there were questions about his maturity, and I like some of the things he had to say where he knows he's got to go out and perform and win this job. It's not just going to be handed to him, so I like that. We'll talk maybe later about it a little bit more. And the NFL is allowing all of the camps to open without COVID restrictions, I believe. We'll jump into that if we have to. So what else is coming up? Let me give you a few updates before, again, Jim Beringer will be with us in a few minutes. They're saying the Buffalo Bills have the third easiest schedule coming up. It's hard to believe that that's possible, Dave, when you finish first in the division, but we'll have to take a look at it. I haven't looked at their schedule specifically. We'll be taking a look at it probably on next week's show. We'll dive into the schedule a little bit more. So again, we already know the teams that everybody's playing, but we don't know where they're playing them or the dates. I think we do know where they're playing them, whether it's home or away, but we don't know the dates and such of those. Good morning, Rick Sherlock. How are you? Good morning again to Dave Guyette. We're just waiting on Jim Beringer, who ought to be popping here in a few minutes. We're going to get started with the NHL because there's a lot to talk about there. There's a lot to talk about in Major League Baseball. There's a lot to talk about in the NBA and a little bit. Rick, you missed my little diatribe right now on Aaron Rodgers, but we'll jump into it later if we have time. And if we don't, you watch my vlog from Friday. I know you'll enjoy it, Rick. Listen, I think Aaron Rodgers is a great player. Great player. But he's a baby. He cries. He whines. He hasn't won more. He blames the team for not having won more when he doesn't do anything to give back, as Tom Brady did during his career. Over and over again, he restructured contracts so he could bring better players in. Do the same. You've been in 2 Super Bowls. You won 1. The team is good enough to reach a Super Bowl. It's good enough to win a Super Bowl. You've been in NFC championship games. If you get to that game, you're good enough to win a Super Bowl. The team around you is good enough to win a Super Bowl. You were as much to do with this team not getting to the Super Bowl last year as anybody else on the team, Aaron. I'm starting to repeat myself. And again, if we get into it later, I'll be repeating myself anyway. But Rick, I will tell you as a Vikings fan, if you have not looked at Friday's vlog, please take a look at it. I think you'll enjoy it. And anybody else who hasn't, please do so as well. Also, guys, anybody who catches this, reach out to Facebook. I'm going to be on 2 weeks here Wednesday with my page down with no communication. If it's down for good, great. Let me know. I move on and figure out what I want to do and how I'm going to get restarted. But I've got tons of followers. I've got tons of followers that are not seeing the shows, not seeing some great content. Great interview with Denny McClain Friday. People can't see it. Facebook doesn't communicate. No reason. And by the way, my page shows no violations. I did all kinds of research this week, guys. I have looked everywhere. Nothing. So send them a note. Go to the support tab on your settings page. And if you can, send Facebook a note on TGI Sports Talk's behalf. I'd appreciate it. Again, just waiting for Jim Beringer to pop in here. We want to get talked about the NHL. I'll talk about it a little bit as we wait for Jim. Now we're going to start with the the NHL, because we needed to get Jim in here. Still things up in the air because we don't know when the playoffs will start. Maybe Jim will have some information for us on that. We do know the Rangers are out, and we're going to talk to Jim, as I said before, about the Tom Wilson and Patinkin issue and the firings of the entire front office, basically, and the elevation of Chris Drury. So a lot to cover there. And actually, as we bring it up, there is Jim Beringer, our resident NHL hockey guru. Hello, Jim Beringer. How are you today?
Hey, Keith, how we doing? Just wanted to give a shout out to Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there, even the ones that are not here with us today, and all the hockey moms and everybody like that. But thanks for having me on this day.
No worries. And again, I will share the same. I didn't do it at the top of my show, and I'm usually very good about that. And somehow I neglected to do that. So again, Happy Mother's Day, as Jim said to everybody. I guess I'm too worked up about stuff to remember. I did give my wife her Mother's Day card and wish my mom a happy Mother's Day in heaven. So yeah. we did cover it. I just didn't get to it on my show, but thank you for reminding me of my transgression there.
Absolutely.
So anyway, Jim, I want to get started, and we're going to cover some stuff, a few things, but I certainly want to start with the Rangers. It's been a very eventful week for the Rangers with the Wilson incident, that the Rangers statement, which is still a mystery. Maybe you have some insight on that. The statement that they put out or sent to the NHL, I guess. And of course, the firing of the front office. So where do we start here, Jim? What a week for the Rangers.
I've been saying it's been a wild and crazy week here in the New York City area. It started, go back to Monday, last Monday, the Rangers played the Capitals. I mean, pretty much, it wasn't a meaningless game for the Capitals, but it was kind of meaningless for the Rangers. You don't want to say they're meaningless, but Boston had already clinched their playoff spot. So, and we had said on the show, they were going to battle for that fourth position, and then they did. So I guess late in one of the periods, I believe it's the second period, there was a play in front of the Capitals net. Buchnevich drives the net hard, goes to the ice. After the whistle, Wilson gets a couple of shots in while the guy's on the ground.
Ridiculous little shots. Those were some of the
couple shots. I mean, like I said, on a bunch of other places, if you look at the video, which I have multiple times, probably watched this thing probably up to 100 times, and that's no kidding. Just trying to break down why there was no suspension. So you break it down in a couple of pieces. As I've been talking with a lot of guys, Buchnevich drives in that hard. Wilson gives him a couple of shots, two of which are on the shoulder blade, okay. But guys defenseless, I get it. You'd really want to be doing that. Wilson has a reputation. But then it gets to Artemi Panarin and Ryan Strome jumping this guy on his back and all this stuff, and you know who it is, so Tom Wilson and everything. So they get into a wrestling match, and a couple of punches are thrown, and then Panarin goes to the ice hard, and it could have been a lot worse than it was, thankfully. I mean, Panarin's out for the rest of the year. That could have just been just to rest him or whatever. They say it wasn't from the incident, but they said lower body injury. So, okay.
Wilson's an animal, by the way. Good grief. I mean, he must have taken on 8 guys there. He was
taking on 8 guys. I mean, but the thing is, like a bunch of players have said and analysts, it's like, you know who you were messing with. And the problem was the Rangers didn't have the toughness, and they didn't have guys to go up against Wilson. And as I've said with a bunch of people, you have these luxury automobiles, all these Lafrenières, these Kakos, these Panarins, all these guys, but you don't have toughness. You don't have the grit, the trucks to back it up. So you got a guy like Panarin sticking up for himself, which is fine, but you're going up against Tom Wilson. Yeah. So then there's that. So then the next day, there's no hearing, there's no suspension. It's a $5,000 fine. It's pretty much a slap on the wrist for what happened. Everybody's going up in arms. But as I said, if you look at it, wrestling matches happen all the time after the whistle. Stuff like, take Tom Wilson's name out of the equation, because the next couple of nights we saw the same thing involving Crosby, a bunch of other people. I saw it over the weekend, wrestling matches.
Well, they had
nobody cared.
Yeah.
Nobody cared, but because it was Tom Wilson, they did it.
Yeah.
Then the Rangers statement comes out basically condoning the NHL Department of Player Safety for not doing their job, basically calling out George Peros.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay, they're going to do this. No one has really done that since San Jose in 2013 when Rafi Torres got suspended for basically the rest of the playoffs for his hit. But they did it in a nice way. Personally, I take issue with the statement being released because there's different ways to handle it. That's not the right way to do it. You should get on the phone with Gary Bettman, Bill Daly, George Peros, and be like, look, this is how I feel. Now, this is where everything gets crazy because the next day,
as if that wasn't enough, right?
If that wasn't enough, we're going Wednesday night. They're supposed to play again. You got Tom Wilson, the Rangers taking on the Capitol. Everybody, look out. Prior to the game, the team fires John Davidson, the president, general manager Jeff Gordon, both guys which were hired a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
They put out the letter to say this rebuild is going to take a while. It did get accelerated a little bit because of the Panarin signing a couple of trades and the resurgence of Georgiev and Shesterkin and Adam Fox and the right trades. But when you hear that the team underachieved,
yeah, I agree.
When the team underachieves, when you hear that, it's like, hey, wait a minute. How did this team underachieve? They were competing for a playoff spot while still in a rebuild.
Yeah.
Yeah, they made the playoff last year. Well, it was the play-in. But that's because
nobody rejected a playoff position this year, right?
No, nobody. I mean, I think I said on the show they would compete for fourth. And they did. And so all of a sudden, because you may be losing out on money. What I've been trying to gather information is JD and Jeff Gordon were not okay with what Jim Dolan did, putting out that statement. They felt that the team should have just handled it on the ice. We'll handle our own business.
Right.
Which they did because you saw a line brawl to start the game.
Which I think is what Rick Sherlock's talking about here, obviously. Yeah. Take care of business on the ice.
They took care of business on the ice, and we had 6 fights within the first 5 minutes. Brendan Smith stands up to Tom Wilson. It was like a party in a penalty box.
Game, right? Wasn't there 4 seconds into the game?
Yep, there was a line brawl, shades of 2012, Devils Rangers. But what was interesting was that the more I talked to people, the more and more I heard that. And then obviously they introduced Chris Drury as the interim president, general manager. Glenn Sather's back as a consultant.
Can't get rid of Glenn Sather.
Can't get rid of Glenn Sather. But what I heard is that Mark Messier has been in the ear of Jim Dolan.
Yeah.
And after the Matt Martin hit on Jacob Trouba, he said this team's not tough enough. He wants a different direction. And if you saw, he came out on the Michael Kay show pretty much right after this happened, pretty much echoing the same sentiments. He felt like this team should be built from the streets. He feels like, that's a statement. They need to be tougher, physical. And he said he's willing to come back, enter in the game anytime soon. So I wouldn't be shocked to see Mark Messier a part of the New York Rangers come the summertime.
Well, that'd be interesting. Obviously, he's got a great history there. Chris Drury's got a pretty, he was a Ranger captain and finished his career, I think, with the Rangers. But, to treat, there's got to be something. And I heard some stuff over the weekend that Dolan's been talking about the culture with the team was not what it should be. And, John Davidson's a legend in New York. And to get rid of him just 2 years after really probably giving him a king's ransom to come from Columbus, right?
Yeah. I mean, look what JD has done. He was a president in St. Louis. Look what they did after he left. He built a good team there. Look what he did in Columbus. With the Blue Jackets, he built a solid team there. They paid a price to get JD to come to New York, which, by the way, brings Artemi Panarin to New York. What if John Davidson doesn't come to New York? Is Artemi Panarin a Ranger, or is he down in Florida with his buddy?
I'm guessing the latter.
Right, exactly. So JD is a great president. Jeff Gordon is one of the best young general managers in this league. He put together a really good team. I mean, obviously, I've talked about it with the guys on Last Word on Hockey. The whole season has been the Rangers' toughness.
Yeah.
Okay, but you thought, okay, you're a little bit there. You're a step away. Okay, go get some toughness this year. That would have solved the problem. But obviously, if it was really about underachieving, I would have waited till probably today or tomorrow to just clean house because the Rangers season ended on Saturday. Why do it with 3 games left? It doesn't make sense. And it's not about underachieving. It had everything to do with Tuesday's statement.
This smells of the Knicks James Dolan. To be
Yes.
honest. A lot of ways he's stayed out of the Rangers business over the years, for the most part. I mean, here and there he steps up, but this is classic Nick James Dolan right here. Just making a rash move at the wrong time.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. And you hear from Rangers fans all the time saying James Dolan ruined the Knicks, and hopefully he doesn't ruin the Rangers. But I say, if this is the road they're heading in with bringing Messier, all these guys back, it smells like Oilers 2.0 when they kept bringing McTavish in, and they brought all the old Oilers back to run a team. The sad part is, talking to a lot of people, the Rangers have a good history. They have a great history. Their original 6 franchise, but it seems nothing ever happened before 1994.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. I mean, I hope right now it's starting to look like it'll be 40 years before they win again. I mean, it was 40 years then, right?
Yeah.
So.
I mean, look, they have a good history. They have a good team. Like I've said, I've been on the Rangers bandwagon pretty much all year. After what they did last year in the playing round, despite their loss to Carolina, I said they had the team to compete for a spot in this tough East Division. And it's a tough East Division. Don't get me wrong. I mean, look at the teams that were in this division.
Absolutely.
Pittsburgh, Washington, Boston, the Islanders. Even the Flyers, Devils, and the Sabres, even though those teams weren't as good, it's still a tough division. You put the Rangers in any other division, they're making the playoffs. And if this is a regular 82-game season where the divisions are the way they were, they're making the playoffs. So I don't want to hear about underachievement. They did what they were supposed to do this year.
That's the part that doesn't ring true at all. I mean, again, the start they got off to put themselves in a position, with a month left in the season or less to get in the playoffs, and they faded a little down the stretch. But, again, nobody before the season, as we talked about, said this team was going to make the playoffs. They're a year ahead of where they should have been, right?
Absolutely. And it's better to just fall a little short when you're a year ahead than make the playoffs like the Devils did, and then you just keep going backwards and then you don't pick up where you left off.
Yeah.
Then the expectation is always going to be playoffs. I get that. Before they faded, the Rangers were 16-3-2 in the last 21 games before they faded. They were 2 points away from passing the Bruins and Islanders for the final playoff spot in the East Division. If they win one of those games against the Islanders, or both of them, they're in the playoffs. Because the Islanders weren't playing that great. They just ran into a team that was playing physical playoff hockey, and that's what you need to win this time of year. And you go up to, and I made the comparison too, you go up north and you look at what the Toronto Maple Leafs did. Bring in Wayne Simmons, bring in Joe Thornton, you bring in size, you bring in physical players to help those young guys do their thing. And now look where Toronto is, sitting number 1 in the North, and they have a chance to go all the way to Stanley Cup final this year.
So how's this going to affect David Quinn? I mean, who's done, I think, a very good job. And now you've got a whole new management team coming in. I think the Rangers finished their season yesterday, right, with a win?
Yes. Yes, they did. Yeah, Lafreniere and beat Tuukka Rask on a beautiful goal to give the Rangers the victory yesterday.
It was a great one. Is that going to be Quinn's swan song, though?
That's the big question. I mean, it didn't sound like, from listening to a press conference when I was listening to Drury and Slater, that, I mean, they didn't say he was coming back, but they didn't say he wasn't. They didn't really give him a blessing either. But I know Drury and Quinn have ties going back to BU. But I know fans have not been happy with David Quinn this year, especially his in-game adjustments. He's really not a great in-game adjustment coach. And when the Rangers started to go on that run, it was the AHL staff that was there. Knobloch coming up from Hartford, and Drury was there because when those guys were out with COVID, it was just like a different voice in the room. So it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, look, you could start the rumors about John Tortorella coming back to New York.
It's funny you said that. I was going to segue to that. It's strange we go from the conversation about the Rangers coach to Tortorella gets fired yesterday by the Blue Jackets. So
yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't know if I'd do it. I don't think you go backwards with a guy. His time in the National Hockey League is started. He's a good coach. Don't get me wrong. He's a really, really good coach. He brought the Columbus Blue Jackets deep in playoff runs. I don't think he fits the way the New York Rangers are built right now.
Tortorella strikes me as kind of without the barroom brawls, the Billy Martin of the NHL, right? He comes in, he gets teams head in the right direction, and then he just wears out his welcome and hits the road fairly quickly. I mean, he had a 6-year run, I think, with Columbus, which is a long time for him.
Yeah, and he was the most winningest coach in that franchise history. Now, that's not saying a lot considering, they were expansion team in 2000. They were not really good for a while. But he had them. That was a winning record that brought them to the playoffs, about 4 straight years. So that team is good.
What about so I'm assuming his coaching career is not over. He's going to be
he'll probably find another job someplace.
I would think he'll be highly sought after by some of these teams that want to turn something around. Let's pivot a little bit. Obviously the Rangers are out of the playoffs, but what is the playoff scenario? Do we have a start date at all, Jim?
My understanding is that the Stanley Cup playoffs will start this upcoming Saturday. The 15th?
The 15th. Oh, 15th.
May 15th will be the start date for the Stanley Cup playoffs. That'll just be the 3 divisions in the United States because the North Division is wrapping up.
Yeah, they're finishing up Friday, aren't they, at the North?
Yeah, so they'll start the 3 divisions in the United States will start up before the North Division even finishes, which is fine because there's like Vancouver and Calgary play like 20 games to end the year anyway, so it really don't matter. And that's just exaggeration. I think they play like 5 times to close the year, but pretty much, I think if Montreal picks up a point in the next 2 games,
the
Vancouver Canucks are out, and then you have Toronto play Montreal for the first time in the playoffs in '79, which will be awesome to see. But then the North will get started. What's interesting is yesterday, news came out that the COVID restrictions are going to be lifted in the National Hockey League, similar to what was in the NBA. Fully vaccinated players can start going out. You can start having team meals together. You don't have to wear masks. There's not going to be as much restriction, which the players love. They're going to have a little bit more freedom. You won't have to come in on off days to get tested. Right. So slowly but surely, life is getting back to normal in the National Hockey League for these players.
But how's that going to be, though? Because things are still a little hairy in the north of the border yet.
Right.
And once we get to the part of the playoffs where the North has to come south, what's going to happen? What's the NHL's plan, or is that still evolving?
That one's still evolving, but the plan, they want to have it to be where they can cross.
Go back and forth and
go
play
back and forth because, most buildings will be not at full capacity. So, like, say, for instance, Toronto plays Boston, they could go back and forth. Besides, there's probably not going to be many fans in Toronto anyway. So if they don't have to interact with much, they'll be able to get there. And by that time that happens, they're hoping at least one of the teams that make it that far is fully vaccinated so they can do that. The other option is to have bring them across the border and put them in like a neutral site to play. Personally, for me, I would just put the games in a neutral site, start the conference semifinals, someplace, and just pack the arena with fans and do it that way. But I understand like home ice and everything. So most likely, if Toronto does make it, it'll be like Buffalo will be the home spot for them.
Okay. And what round does the inter-country games start anyway? It's not after the first round, right?
It's the third round. So the equivalent of the third. So originally it'd be the conference final. They're going to call it the conference semifinals this year. Yeah. So it'd be the third round when they reseed after the first 2 rounds, after the division play.
So there'll just be one Canadian team left. Anyway.
Yeah, one Canadian team is guaranteed to make the Final Four.
Yeah. So while we have you, Jim, I mean, what else should we know about the upcoming playoffs? Anything that strikes you that the casual or the avid fan should look for? Obviously, playoff hockey, I think, picks up a lot of more casual.
Yeah, it does.
In the regular season, so
it does. So for the first time ever, the Battle of Florida, the Tampa Bay Lightning will play the Florida Panthers in the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. The National Hockey League has wanted this for a long, long time.
Yeah,
they have an in-state rivalry, but it really hasn't picked up because they don't play in the playoffs, and they really don't play much. They only play like 4. Normally, they only play like 4 or 5 times in the regular season. This year, these games have been physical. It's been playoff hockey. Last night's game was great. They wrap up again on Monday, and these two teams will go after each other in the playoffs in the first round. That's going to be fun to watch. I can't wait for that series to start. Potentially down the road, second round, we maybe get Sid Ovi one more time if both teams can take care of business. That would be a fun thing.
That would be fun, yeah.
I also mentioned north of the border, once the Canadiens clinch the playoffs, probably the first time since '79 that Toronto and Montreal meet in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So it's a shame that no fans are in the building because that is going to be something special to watch.
It's funny you bring up Crosby. Has he become a fighter since he's not the scorer that he was before? I mean, you didn't touch him back in the day when he was, the golden boy. And it seems like I hear him in fights more this year than I've ever heard it before.
Yeah, I mean, Crosby's taken it to a physical level this year. I mean, I think he always looks to evolve his game every year. Like he works on face-off shooting, whatever.
Yeah.
But like this year, he's been a little bit more feisty. I think because like you said, the spotlight's not really on him because the torch is being passed and the baton's being passed to guys like Connor McDavid and Austin Matthews and the younger generation that's coming up. Because, I mean, look, Connor McDavid, and he only did this in 53 games. He had 3 games left. Dude put up 100 points in 53 games this season. He just had another 4.9 against the Canucks last night. Austin Matthews hit 40 goals this season. It's crazy. I mean, and then another storyline to me going out west is like the Colorado Avalanche. They're on a mission to not let what happened happen this year. They lost in Game 7, and they're going to use it as momentum this year. But can anybody stop Vegas out west? I mean, that team looks really, really good and primed to go make a deep run. But then there's the Minnesota Wild, trying to make their own little bit of history there too. They haven't been to a conference final since 2003. So there's a lot of good, fun storylines when you enter the Stanley Cup playoffs. And it's funny, it feels like the season just started and we're getting to the end of it already and we're coming time for playoffs. It's
exciting. I mean, even the North's going to be exciting too. I mean, we've talked about this, I think, a couple of times, but I think any of those 4 teams could come out of there.
If Carey Price gets back for the Montreal Canadiens, they could give the Toronto Maple Leafs a run for their money. But I just don't see anybody stopping Toronto. I think they have the path to the Final Four. I really do. I just don't see anybody stopping that team.
Do you have a prediction for us for the Final Four right now? I won't ask you to pick the finals or the winners. We'll start with the finals.
I think Toronto out of the North will get there. I think Toronto. I think Toronto will get there. Give me Vegas out west. I think that'll be a team. This is chalk, but then Central is tough because you got Florida's so playing well. Carolina is doing their thing, and they got a tough team in Nashville. I could always say the Cup champs because they're getting Stamkos and Kucherov back. But I like
the defending champs there myself.
I like Tampa there too. I just don't. Florida's got to prove it to me in the playoffs. They haven't won a playoff series since '96. That was the last time they went to the Stanley Cup final, and they lost in 4 games to the Colorado Avalanche. They haven't been past the first round since then. You got to prove it, and the champs are the champs till you beat them. So I'll give me there. And then the East is any one of those 4 teams could do it too. I mean, Islanders, Bruins, Caps, Pitts. It does. I pick one of those 4 teams. It's a toss up. I might say the Bruins the way they're playing. To be honest,
they're playing very good. I was going to say that a couple of weeks ago. I would have said the Islanders had a really good shot, but they've kind of faded a little bit here.
They played a lot better. They played like the Islanders last night against the Devils. They put a beating on the Devils last night, but that's a good thing because I've seen, throughout watching hockey and watching the Devils and a lot of teams, doesn't matter, you could start good, you have a little slump, but if you finish with a couple of wins, that can help you go into the playoffs. It really can.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, playoff hockey is obviously ratcheted up a notch, it seems, obviously, from the regular season. There's a lot more interest. The TV interest will be better. And I get excited about it. Even though the Rangers aren't there, I still get into playoff hockey. I'll find somebody to latch on to kind of root for, maybe one of the underdogs. But it'll be a lot of fun. And listen, we're going to have you back through the playoffs so we can continue to stay on top of the National Hockey League as we head into the second season, because it'll probably last almost as long as the regular season.
They're going to probably be – so we're starting in May. They'll probably be done by July usually. It takes about 2.5 months to complete the Stanley Cup playoffs. It's going to be a wild ride. I mean, like I said, when you get down to just 16 teams making a playoff, anybody has a shot to go deep. It doesn't matter. It comes down to goaltending, timely goaltending, and timely goal scoring, and playing good defense, and who plays physical. And Bruins are made to do it. And Islanders are made to do it. Pittsburgh, Washington, any one of those teams could do it. Look at Carolina, the way they are. Look, you talk about underdogs. Think about it. Nashville. Did anybody expect them to go to Stanley Cup Final in 2017? No. It just happens. And, obviously Vegas is an outlier expansion year. They went all the way. It's going to be fun. There's just so many storylines, so many players to watch, so many different aspects of the game. Who has the injuries? How's this going to affect so-and-so? It's going to just be a fun ride to watch once the playoffs start next week. And just buckle up, because games are going to be tight. Games are going to be physical. Going to be some late nights, maybe some early mornings with the overtime.
Yeah, we'll get a couple of overtime games somewhere, right?
Yeah, buckle up, because the games are going to last a long time. Get those cups of coffee ready.
It's going to be fun. Jim, listen, I appreciate you coming in as always to give us your insight on the big news of the day. And certainly the Rangers were the big news of the day, but now it's going to be playoff hockey, and that's good. The games are going to be the big news, hopefully. And
absolutely. And just before we get out of here, like you said, obviously Rangers took center stage, but a couple of shout outs to a couple of guys this week. Ryan Miller ends his career last night, plays his final game for the Anaheim Ducks, a great U.S. goalie, silver medalist. Andrzej Kopitar on that Wednesday, emotional Wednesday night, 1,000 points in his career. So congrats to him. TJ Oshie during that game just lost his father, hat trick. So the emotion there. So a couple of good guys in the league deserve a couple of shout outs before we get out of here, before the playoffs start. So, it's going to be a fun ride come the playoff time.
Excellent. Well, thanks for adding that. Guys, catch Jim on Last Word on Sports. What nights what nights are you airing now live?
We're still on Saturday nights. We just did with the Rangers this week. We had to do a couple of impromptu shows because of everything, and plus with Mother's Day this weekend, we weren't around. So we figured, it'd be easier to do it Wednesday and Thursday, but most likely will be Saturday night. And this Saturday on our show, upcoming Saturday, we'll playoff preview, talking about who has a chance to go all the way, top storylines, all that fun stuff. So check us out. The Last Word on Hockey is the show. I write for Last Word on Sports. So check it out, please.
Good stuff. Thanks, Jim. Thanks for joining us. We'll have you back probably in a couple weeks and see where we're at then.
Sounds good, Keith. Have a good one.
You have a good Mother's Day. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.
All right, guys. Jim Beringer from The Last Word on Hockey. Everything we need to know about hockey, we found out pretty much there. The craziness with the Rangers. What a crazy week. So we'll move on. I will answer Kenny Gifford. Good morning, Kenny Gifford, by the way. I see who had entered the room, so thanks for popping in. Kenny's asking, has anyone watched the Spring Football League? I'm not really sure if you're talking about, I don't know of any college professional spring league playing right now, but some of the college leagues did play a spring schedule, like Albany U played, and some of these smaller conferences played. So I don't know if that's what Kenny's referring to or not, but we can certainly address that as we go forward. We're going to do some coverage, by the way, speaking of football, guys, on the Northeast Streaming Sports Network. We're going to be covering the Tri-Borough Semi-Professional Football League. Consists of teams in New York, in New Jersey, in Connecticut, and we're going to be promoting the league. Certainly the Connecticut Falcons highly, and probably the entire league. And we're going to cover some games. There's a possibility, and I'll keep you abreast of this. I will be covering a game remotely this Saturday, May 14th, Connecticut against, don't remember the lineup, but I'll be going live to do a promo for it later on. But check us out. It'll be a Saturday, boy. Prevagen. I think it'll be May 14th. I'll let you guys know for sure. It could be fun because theoretically, Keith will be on the play-by-play, and Jamie Paggs, the Philly sports guy, will be doing color for the Connecticut Falcons game Saturday. Kenny's talking about pros. I have not seen it, Kenny. But we'll dive into it, and maybe we can chat about it next week. I'll have to look into it. And Kenny, I owe you an answer. I told you I'm playing golf with you on the 12th. I have got to call my hockey guy. I think he'll play as long as his wife lets him. So I'm making myself a note on my Monday work to-do list to talk to him about golf. I promise to let you know. Maybe I can get a hold of him today, and I'll let you know. Little personal business between me and Kenny. Sorry to interrupt the show for that, but it was important. Let's move on to Major League Baseball, guys. Some interesting stuff going on this week. So let's look quick at the scoreboard from yesterday. Yankees with a really nice win yesterday, coming back and winning this game against the Nationals. It was kind of a back and forth game. The Yankees were in trouble. Again, I hate this stupid. I don't know yet, Rick. A good question. Sorry, before we dive in here. I'll send out, I'm going to have some information on this as well. The Basketball Hall of Fame, Northeast Streaming Sports has some access. We're going to get together tomorrow with Mac McGrath from Mac and Jack Sports, who kind of is our leader. And we're going to see what we're doing. I know we're doing something Friday afternoon with the press conferences. But I'm going to do my show Friday morning. I'm going to cover, I'm going to do a preview of the Hall of Fame inductions. Friday afternoon, theoretically, I'll be on with Mac and Jack. And I'm not sure exactly what the coverage is going to be, but I'll get some information out to you hopefully by Tuesday at the latest. And I don't know Saturday. I know Saturday is the actual inductions at 4:30, so I don't know how this is all going to work. Both could be going on. There could be a Hall of Fame show that's going to be available, but this is kind of a experiment in broadcasting this football game on Saturday. And I'm not even sure of the logistics of it all, but it should be fun. And I'll keep you guys abreast of both of those things going forward. So what our Hall of Fame coverage is Friday and Saturday, and also on the football game. So anyway, back to the Yankees. Nice win yesterday. They went on a dribbler. Actually, there was some good. I was impressed with the Yankees because there was some good situational hitting in this game where we don't usually see it from the Yankees. There was a really good bat by Gleyber Torres. I want to say in the 8th or 9th inning to get the game tied. Not trying to put the ball out of the ballpark, not trying to hit into shifts, but just putting the ball in play. So the Yankees played much better yesterday. Cardinals beat the Rockies yesterday, 9-8. The Cubs beat the Pirates in a game that nobody cares about except Cubs and Pirates fans. The Giants beat the Padres. Giants still playing good baseball, guys. We'll talk about that in a second. The Rays beat the Rays got beat by the Athletics 6-3. The Twins are off to a horrible start. Tigers beat the Twins 7-3. The Twins, who I picked to win that division, are just playing horrendous baseball right now. And this is a kind of stretch that gets managers in trouble. So Rocco Baldelli better be careful. The Indians beat the Reds. The Brewers were really not playing great baseball either. Trying to right their ship, beat the Marlins yesterday. The Red Sox continue to play good baseball and beat the Orioles 11-6. The Rangers beat the Mariners 9-8. The Mets beat the Diamondbacks 4-2. Some good news for the Mets coming up. We're going to talk about the Mets in a second, but Jacob deGrom, I believe, is cleared to pitch today. We'll get some news on that going forward. And what else we got here? Blue Jays beat the Astros after the Yankees had a pretty good series against the Astros, losing the last game. Tough outing for the bullpen in that last Astros game for the Yankees. And the Dodgers and the Angels in a slugfest, 14-11. Let's look at the standings in the American League East. The Red Sox still leading by 3 games over the Blue Jays, 3.5 over the Yankees. Red Sox have won 3 in a row again. I keep waiting there to fade. They started to fade a little in the last 10 days or so, but they continue to hang in there and surprise me. So they're sick. They won 3 in a row. They're back to 6-4 their last 10 after, again, starting to fade. The Blue Jays and the Yankees and Tampa Bay have started to play better baseball. Yankees are 7-3 in their last 10, getting much better starting pitching. Bullpen's been a little bit of a problem because they're overworked, but they had some issues, and they're getting better hitting. Stanton's been on fire, and again, I'm still not a Stanton fan. I can't see playing a guy who can do nothing but carry the bat. $27 or $29 million a year, and he's going to go into a slump at some point, and he's carrying the team for 2 weeks, but then he'll go into a slump for a month. So is that worth it? And by the way, the end of the game, I think Thursday, they finished up with the Astros. They're trying to make a comeback after the bullpen kind of imploded. They get a couple men on. Stanton's up, hits a bullet to third base. And it turns into an easy play because he's not even running. Basically walking down the line. Just run. It's the easiest thing to do in baseball is a run. I mean, come on, guys. Good grief. Now, I do know if he runs, he's going to get hurt. But, oh, gosh. Also, you got the Orioles bringing up the rear of the division. In the Central, things have kind of moved around a little bit. The Royals have faded. They're 2-8 in their last 10, and they faded to third place, 2.5 games behind the White Sox, who are playing decent baseball. We'll have some news. Tony La Russa was asked whether he wanted Albert Pujols, and he doesn't see a fit for him with the White Sox. We'll talk more about Pujols in a second. The Indians are hanging tough, just a half a game behind the White Sox, and they're also playing well, 7-3 in their last 10 games. The Twins, as I said, 12-20, off to a horrible start. Buxton is out now for an extended period of time with an injury. Not going to help their cause as far as coming back. In the West, the A's continue to lead the way, 2.5 games ahead of the Mariners. Both teams a surprise at this point in the season. And, again, the Twins disappoint at 12-20, and they're already 6.5 games out of first place, and then the Tigers are going nowhere. They're going to lose. They're going to lose well over 100 games. I'd be shocked if that's not the case. Oh, sorry, I went backwards. Let's talk about the West. A's and the Mariners leading, as I said. Astros up and down, 5-5 the last 5. 17-16 overall. Really good pitching, bad bullpen. Good starting pitching, bad bullpen. Still got some hitters, but the Astros are not a complete team in any way, shape, or form. The Rangers playing better baseball. Are only 4 games out, 7-3 in their last 10. And the Angels, who I had picked to go to the playoffs, are really struggling. 3-7 their last 10. They release Albert Pujols this week. He has not done really anything probably the last few years. He's been a drain. Horrible contract that they signed. If he can't run, then send him down. I agree. Stanton, I assume we're talking about, but that's not going to happen. I mean, sit him down. Can't run. You're afraid of getting hurt. Sit him down. Again, Pujols was hitting only 198. He did have 5 home runs and 12 RBIs, but his slugging percentage was only 372. His on-base percentage was 250. These have been his numbers for a couple of years, and he's just a drain on that team. And they had to be playing Jared Walsh at first base, obviously, and this will free up the DH spot for some of the younger guys to be able to play and be able to rest guys. Now, if I'm ever Pujols, he's had a great career. Great career. First ballot Hall of Famer, Albert Pujols. Without a doubt. First ballot Hall of Famer. But your career is over. He's looking for a job. Obviously, he's going to have to pass through waivers because nobody's going to sign him and take on that contract. But already his old manager, Tony La Russa, was asked, and he said, there's no place for him. He didn't say Albert's done, but I think that's going to be the consensus. I can't see anybody signing him. and what he should do, because he is done. It's been obvious for 3 years he's done. He should sign a contract with St. Louis and retire. Happens all the time. I love seeing that happen. Retire and yeah, very good, Rick. I'll touch on that real quick in a second. Actually, let me talk. Jim Beringer is really good, and playoff hockey is a lot of fun. We're going to have him on consistently here from now through July, at least every other week. Well, every other week right now, and as we get closer to the end, we'll probably have him on weekly. So Jim's a great guy. Watch his show. If you like hockey and you want to follow the playoffs of what's going on, The Last Word on Hockey is really good. So anyway, back to finish up on Pujols. Great career. First ballot Hall of Famer without a doubt. Sign a one-day contract with the Cardinals and retire. I think that would be your best bet right now, Albert. Where were we? So anyway, let's go to the National League. The East, actually the Mets starting to play better baseball. 4 wins in a row. Here is Drew. See, before we finish up on Pujols, pretty bad when a team with so many injuries doesn't want Pujols. I agree. But I think it's indicative of where Pujols' career is and has been for some time, unfortunately. A great, great player, but it was a bad contract that they signed. You don't sign a guy. I think he was 31 years old when he signed a 10-year contract. And it was very obvious 2 years in it was going to be a bad deal for the Angels, and it's been an albatross on them for a while now. So good luck, great career. Please go sign a one-day contract with the Cardinals and retire. Just my opinion. Let's get to the National League. Good that Drew's here. We're going to talk about his team and the National League East. Suddenly, we got two teams over 500. Mets playing better ball recently, playing better ball since Ratgate. If you guys didn't hear, Drew, you can kind of certainly offer your opinion up here. And always, guys, if you got a topic to bring up, bring it up. If I don't cover something you want to chat about, don't be afraid. Just try to stay in the segment that we're talking about. If we're talking about baseball, try to stay on a baseball topic so we can at least have some continuity here. So anyway, the Mets playing better baseball. They're 15-13. Starting to hit the ball a little bit. Lindor's hit the ball much better since this little Ratgate incident, right? And Rick says, by the way, allegedly 31 when Pujols signed. You never know about the Latino guys, how old they are when they get here. It's funny. And Lindor is finally waking up, and it's funny. It seems like, again, there's a lot of controversy about, not controversy, well, the papers make a big deal about it, obviously. The team seems to be having fun with the whole Ratgate thing. Supposedly McNeil and Lindor got into this argument in the runway. Maybe Drew's got more insight on this than I do, but from everything that I can find, this argument was likely not about a rat or a raccoon, not about whether they saw a rat or a raccoon. It was about something else. And it was a pretty heated argument. There were several players that ran up the runway quickly. It's probably much ado about nothing because lots of teams have these issues over time, and often they spark a team. Look back at the Oakland A's of the 1970s, early 70s, won 3 World Series in a row. Those guys were having fights every other night in the clubhouse. The Yankees, 77, 78. It was a circus. Still remember Greg Nettles saying when he was a kid, he wanted to either be in a circus or a ball player, and he got to do both, playing for the Yankees. So again, whatever happened, it seems to have woken them up. Lack of field and communication is what, again, there was a play in the field that, they're the keystone combination out there, and they need to play and communicate together. But McNeil, look at Lindor's a great shortstop, but McNeil is out of position at second base in my mind. As the Mets continue to play guys out of position, which could be, a problem for them down the line. But they are playing better baseball, and as Drew said, they're getting Lindor hitting the ball. Right, 2 plays. I didn't see both plays again. It's obvious that it's hilarious to me that the fact that they have an altercation It's not the big deal. The big deal is that they make up this outrageous story that they were arguing about whether they saw a rat or a raccoon, and nobody's backing them up. I know Rojas doesn't believe it, and he's not helping them cover up the situation. It's not a big deal. These things happen on teams all the time, and they can spark a team to play better if it's handled the right way. So I think probably much ado about nothing. But again, the Mets are playing much better since that incident, and it seems to have woken Lindor up. And by the way, Lindor's a great player. I said it in one of my updates I did for Northeast Streaming Sports and Zodiac TV during the week that Lindor needs. The fans need to leave him alone. It's a fan's right to boo, and I get it. And he's making a lot of money, and he's not hitting, but you're not helping his cause. It's an adjustment for a guy to playing from Cleveland to play in New York. Like you can't make up rat versus raccoon stories when you get into an altercation with your teammates. You're going to get called out on that stuff. But anyway, leave him alone. He's going to produce. And when he does, you're going to be excited that he's on your team. Where else are we? So the Phillies are still playing decent baseball. They're basically tied with the Mets. They're 2 games over 500. They've played several more games than the Mets because the Mets had so many rainouts and COVID outs early in the year. I think they've played, if my math is correct, like 6 more games than the Mets. So it's going to be interesting later on in the season when Mets have to start playing 7-inning doubleheaders. Oh, God. Can't believe I have to say that. Don't get me going. The Braves continue to scuffle along 16-17. But again, I still think they're the most. There's Carlos. Carlos, I was going to send you a message. LOL, Lindor will be okay. You're right. Dodgers not doing so well. We'll get to them in a second. Carlos, glad to see you. Was worried about you this week. Haven't seen you anywhere in any of my shows, or I didn't see you on Mac and Jack. So hopefully everything's okay. I was actually going to message you if I didn't hear from you today. What we got here? It seems Harper isn't what he was. Oh, Bryce Harper. Well, you know what? Bryce Harper's never really become what he was supposed to be. He's a great player, but I think he's gotten, he's probably fallen in love with the home run a little bit, and busy week for Carlos. Well, I'm glad you're here and you're glad you're doing well. What's Carlos saying here? Like I said, they have to stay healthy. They can be competitive. Giants are doing it up. Yep. We'll get to them in just a second. Carlos is on to the West here. Talking about the Phillies again. This is a flawed team. The pitching isn't that deep. They got a couple of good starters. The bullpen's going to be a big question mark. They've got some good bats in the lineup, and Harper and Didi Gregorius, who I love and wish was playing shortstop for the Yankees and not Torres. Yankees would be a far better team with Torres at shortstop with Torres at second base and Didi at shortstop and DJ at first base, but we can dream all we want. Anyway, the Braves are not starting to right the ship. They're still kind of listing, but the good news is nobody's run away with this division and probably not going to. Harper's issues is the Phillies. Yeah, I'm not sure. And Harper's doing okay. But you know what, though? Harper, whatever. There's something about Harper. And they're winning because their bats are hot, but their pitching needs help, right? As I said, especially their bullpen is horrible. I mean, Nola's a really good pitcher. But their bullpen is really not good. And if going back to Harper, I mean, it always feels like Drew Harper is not quite doing what we expected him to do. He's an on-base machine, and he's a good ball player. He's a good outfielder. I think it's just, again, he was built up so much coming into the league, and he signed a big contract with Philadelphia, which only put more expectations on him, and that's hurt him. Acuna got hurt yesterday, so we aren't sure what his status is with the Braves. And, the Braves are scuffling offensively. Let's look at their stuff right now real quick. We'll stay on this East for a second because I know we got some some fans of East teams here. So, Acuna's only. I'm sorry. Did you say Acuna or Azuna, Carlos? Oh, Acuna. So, what was Acuna doing? Hitting 313, 1022. Now, he got hurt yesterday. Not sure what his status is. See if there's any update here. If anybody knows one that I don't know, they're certainly welcome to put it up. He's day-to-day with a bruised left pinky finger that he hurt Saturday against the Phillies. So no more information there. Let's hope it's not more serious, because this is a great baseball player, by the way. Great baseball player. So, and again, the rest of the East is the rest of the East. I don't think the Marlins are going to really compete. They just don't have the talent, as we've talked about week in and week out. And the Nationals, I don't know. I don't see them competing. They got a couple really good pitchers. Scherzer is a great pitcher. He pitched well again yesterday against the Yankees. I love watching him pitch. But, yes, a pinky. Can be rough if you have a broken pinky, I guess, trying to hit. Marlins are sneaking up. Yes, they are. But, again, they're sneaking up because the rest of the division is stinking it up, right? So, again, I don't see the Marlins being able to compete with the rest of these teams over the long haul. We'll see. They got a lot of kids, a lot of unknowns, and that's why we have to play the games. Yeah, pitching will keep them in the hunt. And again, the thing is, nobody's going to run away here. I don't see any of these teams run away and hiding. Somebody could, probably, I'm guessing 90 wins is going to be enough to win this division. Drew, we'll have to look back at our over-unders, because I don't think anybody's getting to 90 wins here. Cut it off. Be a man like Ronnie Lott. Well, he's a football player, Kenny. Can't hit with no pinky, I don't think. Although Carlos May hit with half a thumb. Blew his thumb off in Vietnam. Had a really good career with the White Sox and the Yankees. Showing my age again. Let's move to the Central. The Cardinals have moved into first place. As the Brewers have fallen backwards a bit. Only 4-6 in their last 10. And the Cardinals have gotten hot, 8-2. The Cardinals are always in the race, right? I'm surprised the Cubs are hanging in there. They've won 5 in a row now. I said nobody cared about the Pirates and Cubs game, and I still think the Cubs are not a good team. But they're getting some performances out of some key guys. And it's going to be interesting to see if they they will break somebody's heart. It'll be interesting to see if the Cubs can hang in here. I just don't think they can. I don't think they have the pitching. And but if Chris Bryant's still Chris Bryant and they don't make trades, because again, if they don't stay in contention, there will be a seller when that time comes. Injuries are catching up with the Brewers. Agreed there. Way too many injuries, especially to some of their key players. The Reds have fallen backwards after a really hot start. They have won 6 of their last 4, but they're 6 of their last 10, but they're still 3.5 games out. Now they've fallen under 500. And the Pirates are 2-8 in their last 10. Now let's move out west. Carlos has already started the conversation here. I'm not sure. Are we talking about the Brewers again, Carlos, or not deep at all? Not sure which series we're talking about, so you can comment on that if you want. And I'll go to the West, and we'll back up to that. In the West, the Giants continue to surprise. They've struggled a little bit over the last 10. They're only 5-5, but they've won 2 in a row again. They're 2.5 games clear now of the Padres after beating the Padres yesterday. And they continue to play good baseball, especially at home. They're 12-3 at home. And, they've outscored the opposition by 37 runs. So they're not just doing it with smoke and mirrors. I think they're a really good team. Surprisingly, I'm not a big fan of their manager. Gabe Kapler is not, he's unconventional. He does some weird stuff. And maybe it's just, he had to get himself adjusted to being a manager after being in the front office and never managing, probably never coaching before he got the Phillies job. Giants pitching coach is working miracles. Agreed. Kevin Gausman Has pitched very well, even though I just dumped him, Drew, if you want to grab him. He did well for me for a couple starts. The Padres, 5-5 in their last. They've lost their last 10. They've lost 2 in a row now. Just, again, uneven. And it takes teams time to get together and play better baseball together. But I think the Padres will be fine. Interestingly enough, they're only 9-10 at home to start the year. It's very, very weird. Weird is good. I just said weird. That's funny. What else? The Dodgers. Carlos was commenting on the Dodgers earlier. The Dodgers still reeling a bit. 3-7 in their last 10. Only 2 games over 500, but still only 2.5 games out of first. They've got too much talent, probably not to win this division, or at least be in a dogfight. Probably with the Padres. I would expect the Giants to fall back at some point, but we'll see. We're heading into May. We'll see where we are on the 4th of July. With some of these surprise teams that we've talked about, like the Giants and the A's and the Mariners. And, well, we're already seeing some of them fall backwards, right? Like the Royals and the Reds. So Diamondbacks had a pretty good run, surprisingly, but now they've lost 5 in a row, 3-7 in their last 10 to fall 5 games behind and 3 games under 500. And the Rockies are just, really, really bad. They'll be trading Trevor Story soon. Yankee fans, get ready for a bunch of stories about Trevor Story soon. Potentially being a Yankee. Whether he will be or not is a different story. By the way, with the Yankees, they brought Andujar back up when Urshela got hurt, and they've been playing him at first base. I'd like to see him get hot. And I'd like to see the Yankees find a place to play him because he is a really good hitter. And it's really a shame after his rookie year, as you know, he got hurt, missed almost his entire sophomore season. Last year with COVID, he hardly played with the Yankees. And now it's a matter of finding him a position. Let's see what we got here. New GM in Colorado. He's not full-time, though, is he? Or full-time. He's not permanent, I don't think. I thought he was temporary. Maybe they changed that. Talent is overrated. Give players that get players that love to play, is I think what Kenny's saying there, which I agree with, by the way. Again, there's a lot of guys with great talent that really don't win. And there's guys who get more out of less. Think about, I don't know who you want to talk about. Through the years with the Yankees, right? In the 70s, for instance, with the Yankees. I'm going to go back again. My reference point, sorry, Carlos and some of the younger guys, my reference points sometimes get a little dated, but that's how I have to work. You look at the Yankees teams that won in the 70s, and even in the 90s, they didn't have a bunch of superstars. They had really good players. I mean, the 70s teams had Reggie Jackson, yes, and Thurman Munson, yes. But they also had guys who were really, really good players. Not great players, but really good, smart baseball players like Roy White, like Lou Piniella. Nettles was a great player, but again, there was more talented guys than Greg Nettles, at least with the bat. Great players. Great players. And in the 90s, they won not because they had a bunch of home runs. Now you're going to get me going on this whole, again, the way, Kenny, it's about the way baseball's played, right? We look at talent. We look at exit velocity. We look at, the radar guns. We don't look at what's inside a guy's heart. You don't find that out until you don't win, and you go, why aren't we winning? Stanton is a great example. Great talent. I don't like his heart. I saw an interesting stat last night about Aaron Judge. And this isn't his rookie year. Is it impossible to believe? I'd love you guys to comment on this. When I saw this stat, it was impossible for me to believe, but it's got to be accurate. Aaron Judge has never had a walk-off hit, and I don't like necessarily the term walk-off hits anyway, but whatever. He's never had a walk-off hit in his entire career. I find that impossible to believe. But and again, I love Aaron Rodgers, but Don't worry about your fingers, Kenny. If I can figure it out, don't worry about it. You should see the way if it wasn't for spell check, I've been fired at my job long before. I've been here 20 years. And if they ever saw the way things look when I first typed them, they would think I was an idiot. Ricky Willie and a few more. Attaboy. The Yankees had the 80s is a good point. The 80s Yankees had some really talented guys, but not with the same desire to win, maybe as some of the guys from the 70s or the guys from the 90s, or maybe they just didn't mesh. I mean, they had Ricky Henderson, won elsewhere. Donnie Mattingly, great player, didn't win. Yankees had no pitching in the 80s, so that was the problem there. Judge is an okay player, but the Yanks put him as a number one. You know what? He's a really good player, but again, probably pumped up too much. It's like comparing A-Rod to that guy that played shortstop, the one that just faded away. Well, if we're talking about Derek Jeter was a great player, a great leader, and a great winner. A-Rod had talent. There's a reason that Derek's got a bunch of World Series rings and A-Rod's got one. Per spelling, always a problem. The strike hurt Donnie's chances to the World Series. Agreed. And so did the Mariners, unfortunately, the next year. Broke our heart. Let me get my, I've lost track of my banner here, so. Oop. All right, NLBM, but let me get back to your comments. Did we finish up the West? I think we did. 11 after 10. What else did I want to talk about in Major League Baseball? We talked about the Mets. We talked about their little spat. I think it will help them, to be honest with you. I really do. I think DeGrom is coming back to pitch tonight. Drew, maybe you got some more information on that since I've gone on the air. I don't know. Interesting enough, Justin Verlander, by the way, just a note, has started throwing the ball 90 feet. Verlander's making $33 million this year for the Astros. Great pitcher. Love Justin Verlander. I love watching Justin Verlander pitch. It's going to be very interesting because I don't think he's pitching all this year. And he's going to be a free agent. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with him. 38 years old. And he does want to continue his career. But he's just started throwing 90 feet. But he had Tommy John surgery in October, I think. So I don't know that he's going to be back. The plan is still for DeGrom to pitch today. That's what I thought. Carlo talks about... sorry, I missed Carlos's comment. Baseball's changing. And Kenny says for the worse. And I have to agree with Kenny. Still a fan. And I swear to God, I'm not just this old guy yelling at you to get off my lawn. But I don't like where the game is going. Some other news. Wade Miley. 2 no-hitters this week. John Means from Baltimore. Wade Miley with the Reds. Both of them. Well, Means is pitching well this year. Not huge names, right? But Miley's 34 years old. He's pitched with 7 teams in 11 years. He was a runner-up for the Rookie of the Year in 2012, but not a name that you heard much of. It's the 4th no-hitter already this year. Joe Musgrave pitched one. Carlos Rondon pitched one for the White Sox. Musgrave for the Padres. Now you've got Miley and Means this week. So 4 no-hitters in the first month, basically, of baseball. 7 is the record set in 98, 2012, and 2015 is a note that I made. Hopefully those are right. Now, I find it very interesting that 2 of those years are when baseball, you guys just talked about baseball changing. I think the game is perfect. The way the game is played today is set up perfect for guys. Anybody who has a good night, they don't have to be a great pitcher. Wade Miley's not a great pitcher. Mean is not a great pitcher. Musgrove, okay. Rendon, okay. But the game is built for guys to throw no-hitters today. Just because it's the swing and miss league. Or guys hitting into shifts right and left, not trying to hit it where they ain't. So it's home run, strikeout, or walk. So the game is ripe for no-hitters and maybe a record to be set this year. 4 no-hitters, barely a month into the season. What do we got here? I'll yell at you to get off and then somebody talks. Miley went over 89 Mohegan. Never went over 89 Mohegan. Oh, never went over 89. I'm guessing 89 miles an hour. Look up pitchers cheating. Garrett Cole. I'm not getting the rest of that. I don't know anything about Garrett Cole cheating, Carlos. That's news to me. Necro. I might have missed something up here. I don't know. Google Cole cheating on YouTube. Oh, gosh. I'll do it later. Is there a video, Carlos? Maybe I can put it up. Let's take a quick look, shall we? You guys bear with me a second. I'm going to Google it right now. And we'll see. Is there a video, Carlos, or what do we got? Is cheating in Major League Baseball wants them to stop? Well, that's a 15-minute video. So let's just see. I'm going to play this video, Carlos, and we're going to.
There's always been cheating in baseball, from steroids to sign stealing.
Let's see what this is. You guys bear with me a second.
Yes. And
I'm going to play this video. And we're going to see what I'm going to dispel it, or I'm going to say, well, maybe you're onto something, Carlos. Let's see. I've never done this on the fly. But I will get you guys. Bear with me a second. Uh-oh. Lost you all together. Still trying to get there. All right, here we go. Guys, bear with me. We're going to put this in the stream. Hold on. Thought I put it in the stream. All right, we'll watch this together, guys. You ready?
Cheating in baseball, from steroids to sign stealing to sticky substances? Yes. And there's one historic and current player in particular that has cheated. But before I get into it, like this video, consider subscribing so you don't miss any future off-season news or breakdowns. Now, let's get right into the news. Okay, so an article was just recently released, one proving which pitchers in Major League Baseball have cheated using an illegal sticky substance. And no, I'm not talking about pine tar. Garrett Cole is one of the players on the list of guys who have cheated over the last several years, next to the likes of former teammate Justin.
This is making me laugh, by the way.
Nationals ace Max Scherzer. An exchange between Cole, now the New York Yankees ace, Brian Bubba Harkins, who was fired last March by the Anaheim Angels for providing illegal ball doctoring substances to visiting pitchers, was submitted in Orange County Superior Court as evidence Thursday by an attorney claiming Harkins was made a public scapegoat in baseball's efforts to crack down on the use of foreign substances. The text message from Houston Astros star at the time to former visiting clubhouse manager at the time as well, Brian Bubba Harkins, was sent on January 17th, 2019 at 11:39 a.m. precisely. Here is what the text said exactly. "Hey Bubba, it's Garrett Cole. I was wondering if you could help me out with this sticky situation," the pitcher wrote, adding a wink emoji. "We don't see you until May, but we have some road games in April that are in cold weather places. The stuff I had last year seizes up when it gets cold." Harkins, who spent almost 4 decades with the Anaheim Angels, was dismissed after the Angels learned through an MLB investigation that he was providing a blend of sticky substances to visiting pitchers to aid their grip of the baseball. Harkins, 55, had filed a defamation complaint against the Angels and Major League Baseball in Orange County Superior Court on August 28th. The Angels
all right.
Notion to
I've seen enough of this.
On November 2nd. Harkins also
Let me
claimed
get rid
that
of
Major
this.
League Baseball has evidence
All right.
implicating several.
I've seen enough of that. So, good morning. That's my dad. Happy Mother's Day again to Jeanette, by the way. Nice to see you this morning. So anyway, let's talk about this Garrett Cole thing for just a couple of minutes, okay? And you guys can add your comments here. Look at This again, I was just going to say this. This is nothing new, Carlos. This has been going on with great pitchers through the entire history of baseball. Spitballs have been thrown for years. Gaylord Perry got to the Hall of Fame throwing a spitball and a rosin ball. Again, Carlos, I don't know how old you are, how far you go back, but you could see games of Gaylord Perry throwing a pitch where you couldn't even see the ball coming because he had so much rosin in his hand with a ball. It was like a puff of smoke coming out of there. Don Sutton, Sandy Koufax, they all scuffed the ball. Some didn't like it. Some did. Somebody mentioned Joe Niekro before. He got caught with an emery board in his hand. Don Sutton got caught with tacks in his glove. Look, it's been going on forever, so I don't know. Spitball. Yeah. It's funny how they only showed Yankees there, right? And it's funny, if you notice, the word scapegoat was used in there. Scapegoat. Guarantee you this is going on. To me, it's kind of on the level of Tom Brady and Deflategate, right? It was happening. Those things happen with every team. They manipulate footballs. Teams manipulate baseballs. They get rubbed up a certain way for pitchers that are pitching that night. They know how they want the games rubbed up before the games and whatnot. It's not like baseballs or whatever. They throw games. They throw balls out. Balls get thrown back in. They get thrown all over the field. Somebody scuffs it for the pitcher so he doesn't have to have the stuff. It's gone on forever. And if it's that big a deal, it would have been stopped long ago. And Gaylord Perry wouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. Don Sutton wouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. There's a bunch of other guys. No, I know they mentioned more players. I just said I guarantee it's going on throughout the league. And that's where I started my Tom Brady comparison. When the Deflategate came out, Tom Brady was a scapegoat because they just won a playoff game against the Colts. But everybody, the players came out. Eli Manning came out. Aaron Rodgers came out. They all said that they wanted more air in the ball. They wanted less air in the ball. And if it was so important, then the league shouldn't have left teams in charge of the ball. Teams are doing the same thing everywhere. These guys that can curve a ball with just a little dig and make spit. Well, guess what? They all do it. And here's another reason I don't have a problem with pitchers doing it. Because every rule change in Major League Baseball since 1968 has been in favor of the hitters. They lowered the mound. They brought in the designated hitter. They juiced the baseball. They made the park smaller. They don't call the strike zone. Every single change to Major League Baseball since 1968 is to put more offense in the game. And has been to the detriment of the pitchers. And you tell me how they're supposed to keep up. Yeah, that was Kenny that said that. Sorry. They just throw about 90s and they look, well, all right. Well, whatever. Again, much ado about nothing. But how did I get on this topic, guys? What time is it? 10:20? I do want to finish up a couple minutes early maybe today. We'll see how it goes. What else? So anyway, back to what I was talking about. The no-hitters. If pitchers are not that much better and they're not cheating to get no-hitters, I don't know if this is where this comment came from. Carlos, I love the way you participate, by the way. I really do. I know I was afraid I'd chase you away with my, because again, you're passionate. I'm passionate. All my listeners and all my participants are passionate about what they say. And sometimes those things are at odds. And that's why it's good that we can have this back and forth and not be mad. So I was glad to see you back. I thought I might have ticked you off. So glad to see you back. Back to the no-hitters. The reason that no-hitters are prevalent, and I think it's very possible we'll break that record of 7 this year. We got 4 before the second week of May. It's the way the hitters hit, not so much how the pitchers pitch. The hitters try to hit everything out of the ballpark, and they don't try to hit around shifts. So there's a lot more free at-bats for pitchers than there ever was before. Now, the flip side of that is they're not allowed to pitch past, 90 or 100 pitches. The bats are denser. Good call. They changed the bats. That's a good point too, Kenny. It's another thing that changed. Every change to the game in the last almost 50 or 45 years, 42 years, has been for the offense. Almost everyone. By the way, we should be at, I probably talked about this last week. Don't remember if I did. But I'm going to rail on it one more time before I wrap up the no-hitter comment. Get my other keyboard out of the way. Before I wrap up we should have 5 no-hitters right now. The fact that Madison Bumgarner does not have a no-hitter to his credit is ridiculous. It was a 7-inning no-hitter. I get it. Rule got put in 1991 because Pascual and Melito Perez, I think within a year of each other, maybe in a few months of each other, had gotten range-shortened no-hitters. 1 5 innings, 1 6 innings. And were credited with no-hitters. And a rule was put in that if you didn't pitch 9 innings, you couldn't be credited with a no-hitter. Fair enough. I get that. But Major League Baseball puts in a rule that doubleheaders are now 7 innings. A complete game. 7 innings. If a pitcher pitches 7 innings, he's getting credit for a complete game. But if he pitches a no-hitter for 7 innings in a doubleheader, he doesn't get credit for a no-hitter. Ridiculous, Major League Baseball. Ridiculous, Rob Manfred. Fix the rule. Or how about this? We go back to 9-inning freaking games. How about that? 7 innings isn't baseball. It is in high school. It's not in the major leagues. He couldn't pitch 9 innings. You didn't allow him to go out there and pitch the 8th and 9th inning because you took it away from him. By the way, the kid who pitched before him, and I don't remember who it was, pitched a 1-hitter in the game before and almost went 6 or 7 innings. Still the last comment. Drew, if you're still here, I'd love you to chime in on that. I went off on this last week. I know you had left early and before I got to baseball last week, so really ticks me off about that. And so again, to talk about the no-hitters, these 7, 2 of these years that there was the record 7 was set is in the last 10 years when baseball really started to change and really started to become home runs or nothing. And everybody trying to hit the ball out of the ballpark. Remember that guy from Canada, and he looked at the dugout when he would throw the ball. No, I'm not sure who we're talking about there, Kenny. The guy from Canada. Maybe somebody else. Gallon. Not sure where that kind of comment comes from either. Anyway, guys, anything else? You got any other topics on baseball? Because I'm moving on to the NBA, but you can certainly, I'll put this up quickly. Well, I'll wait. You guys can bring up a topic. I'm going to the NBA right now, and you guys want to keep talking about baseball, put it up there. I'll back up while I'm getting my banner ready. Can't find it. My glasses really suck, by the way. Let's look at the NBA quick. I'll check the comments one more time here, see if we need to wrap up. Oh, Zach Gallen threw the 1-hitter. Gotcha. Yes, the 1-hitter before Baumgartner. And again, it's funny, the announcers were talking about it. I guess I'm back on the no-hitter. The announcers were talking about it during that game that they were, could we jinx them? Because even if you throw a no-hitter, it didn't count. Ridiculous. The pitcher shouldn't be penalized by the fact that you shorten the game 7 innings, Rob. Manfred. Pain in the ass. Let's move on to the NBA. By the way, exciting. It's going to be an exciting baseball season. I feel it. I can feel the energy. The team's up and down in the standings. Yankees struggling, yeah, but I think it's going to be a great season. Some great stories already. Homers are the product of the younger generation and do not understand the true meaning of baseball. I agree. Don't disagree. I absolutely agree with that, Kenny. I think you know that. Unfortunately, some of the younger guys don't. They don't get why I think Stanton is not a good winning ball player. I said, what's he ever won? Yeah, he puts up nice numbers every year. What's he ever won? He played on the Marlins. Well, he's played on the Yankees for 4 years now. What's he won here? Nothing. Winning baseball players are not necessarily guys who hit 50 home runs. All right, this time I promise I'm moving on to the NBA so we can get some NBA news in here and maybe a little NFL at the end of the show. We'll see. I'm not going to go through this. Well, maybe we'll. Couple scores to see if they're anything relevant. Wizards are pretty hot, by the way. The Washington Wizards, 133-132 over the Pacers. Russell Westbrook tied Oscar Robertson for the most triple-doubles all time, 181. The man's amazing. He goes 33, 19, 15 last night. 33 points, 19 rebounds, 15 assists. He's averaging a triple-double. He's got it locked up again this year. He's locked into a triple-double average for the 4th time in his career. Oscar Robertson, a great, great player, and maybe one of the most underrated players and forgotten players in NBA history, only did it once. One time. Russell Westbrook is a great player who doesn't get his due, unfortunately. Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a little bit, Kenny, for sure. So I wanted to throw that out about Westbrook, and I read out Washington Wizards. Somebody better be careful about the Wizards in that first round of the playoffs because you got Beal. Oh, in that game, by the way, Bradley Beal scored 50 points. And this was actually earlier in the week, I think. Wait a minute. Where is that story? I don't think it was in that game. I can't find it now. Yeah. Can't pay attention to my own note. In any event, another game yesterday, Steph Curry scored 49 points in just 29 minutes of play. Steph Curry's playing great basketball, by the way. Let's look at some other scores quick. The 76ers are really rolling, 118-104 over the Pistons. The Grizzlies beat the Raptors, not a big deal there. The Nets finally get off the snide, beat a really good Nuggets team on the road, 125 to 119. Kevin Durant, 33 points, 11 rebounds, 7 assists. The Nets will compete if they can keep Durant and Harden and my favorite crazy person, Kyrie Irving, on the court together for the rest of these regular season games. They need to play together. Same with the Lakers, Kenny, as we get there. I think Kenny's rooting against them anyway, but the Jazz do beat again. The Jazz and the Suns keep jockeying for number 1 in the West. They beat the Rockets yesterday, 124-116. The Warriors trying to hang in. They're probably going to end up in that play-in game. One of those play-in games in the West. They win by 40 yesterday, 39. Steph Curry, as I said, 49 points in 29 minutes. Amazing. And the Trailblazers, 124-102. Standings. Let's see what kind of comments we got here. Celtics lay another egg. Westbrook's issue is he doesn't have the greatest support, except for Beal. Agreed. Westbrook's played on some decent teams, but never complete teams, right? Probably the best team he played on was Oklahoma. Oklahoma City when he was with Durant and Harden, when Harden was the third wheel. In fact, he was sixth man when he started playing there. Westbrook really doesn't get the press he needs, and they are fighting, and they will be in that play-in game. So be careful. Nets better be careful. First round, who they end up with. In the East, you're looking at the 76ers are playing their best basketball of the year. 8 wins in a row now. They've gotten a 3-game lead over the Nets for the best record. The Bucks are playing better, only a game behind the Nets for the second best record. The Knicks have lost 2 in a row, so this is Carl's chance to bash Tom Thibodeau. But the Knicks are on a tough road trip, guys. They've had to go to Denver. They've had to go to Phoenix. They've got to play both LA teams, and then they come back home to wrap up the season. And if the Knicks stay in those top 6 spots and don't have to play in a play-in game, I think they're going to get a chance to win a series. Probably their best bet is if they play in the 4 or 5 series. But nobody expected this year, so this is a successful season. Tom Thibodeau's done a great job of turning the culture around. While we're talking about the Knicks, big signing Luka. What's his name? Luka? Hang on a second. I'll find his name. Argentinian point guard. The Knicks get a head start on the free agent market by signing. Where is he? Vildoza. Excuse me. Thank you. Luka Vildoza. Very highly rated player in Europe and has played great basketball in the foreign leagues. And we're going to see what happens. It's going to be very interesting to see what the Knicks do at point guard in the offseason after this early signing. He will not be available to play this year, but at 50 points a game are really 35 in a true game. I know, but that's, again, the numbers are the numbers today. I mean, Wilt scored 100 without a 3-point line. He couldn't make a 3-point shot, I'm sure, anyway. But again, the rules are what the rules are, so we can't just ignore them. I get that. The game's different, but you know what? Some of these teams play the same way, though, Kenny. They just look for 3-pointers, but which isn't bad. There's ball movement. I've talked about this before, and the Knicks do this. They move the ball really great. The Warriors, when they were really good, they moved the ball like the 70s Knicks, but the end result wasn't, a 10-footer. The end result was to get an open 3-point shot. That's the way the game's changed. Probably not going to change that rule, and guys have gotten really proficient at shooting 3-pointers. So, and I'm okay with the 3-pointer as long as we aren't just coming down, isolating, throwing up a 3-pointer, right? I worry about the Nets and their compatibility because they haven't played together. And are they going to be able to have the team chemistry to be able to compete in the playoffs the way they need to against the 76ers? And maybe even, again, be in danger of a first-round ouster because they haven't played together. And they're just going to come down and run a bunch of isolation. Happened the other night when Kyrie scored 49, I think, or close to it. Harden's done a good job of being a distributor, and he said he would, and he changed his game, and he better not go backwards now. What was the graph? I don't know if Wilt could have shot 3-pointers, Rick. Maybe he could have. He was a great athlete. But the fact that he couldn't shoot free throws makes me wonder if he could have shot 3-pointers. I mean, you think about Wilt scoring all those points that he scored, and he only shot about 50% from the foul line for his career. It's funny Hack-a-Shack didn't come about then. Where else? The Hawks. Where else in the East are we? The Hawks and the Knicks and the Heat. And maybe the Celtics are going to battle for those 4, 5, 6, 7 spots, right? Knicks need to stay out of that play-in game. Right now, the Celtics are in a play-in game and the Hornets and the Wizards and the Pacers. Bulls are probably done. Heat's playing good basketball right now. 7-3 of their last 10. Knicks are still 7-3 in their last 10, even though they lost 2 in a row. Carlos must have popped out. He hasn't brought up Tom Thibodeau being the worst coach in the NBA yet. Let's look out west. The Jazz, as I said, the Jazz and the Suns have been going back and forth for the best record, but the Jazz have gotten hot again at the right time. They won 5 in a row. Quinn Snyder's probably the coach of the year. To me, there's 3 guys in contention for a coach of the year. Quinn Snyder for the Jazz, Monty Williams for the Suns, who nobody expected to be, 48 and 19, and Tom Thibodeau. That's who I see in contention for the coach of the year. So the Suns are 2 games behind, a game and a half behind the Jazz now. The Clippers probably going to finish 3rd. The Nuggets starting to play, they were starting to play better basketball. Now they lost 2 in a row again. The Mavericks are playing better basketball to go to actually 11 games over 500, the high water mark for the year. Watch out for the Mavericks in the playoffs. They get great coaching. They play some defense. And they've got some really good players. And Portland's playing some decent basketball right now, too. So, again, the overall depth of the West is so much better than the overall depth of the East. But they do match up better at the top. Now, because you get into the playing games, and all these teams are going to be over 500, where in the East, they're all going to be under 500. Potentially. At least 2 of the teams will be under 500. But the Lakers right now are in the play-in game. The Golden State Warriors, the Grizzlies, the Spurs. I mean, the Spurs match up with the Lakers in the first. I guess the Spurs are under 500, so my last comment would be irrelevant if they don't win their last 3 games. Or 3 of their last 5 games. But you have the Lakers matching up with the Spurs. I'd be scared to death if I'm a Laker fan. I read an article the other day that, if the Lakers get into the play-in game, it might actually help them. I don't see how. You're in a one-and-done situation. And they have continued to fall backwards. And LeBron is still not played with 5 games left in the regular season. Lakers in the same position as the Nets. Lakers get healthy. If they could put their best players together for these last 5 games, the Lakers could get hot and make a run here. But they're just as likely to be one and done if they play in this play-in game or out in the first round of the playoffs, I think. And you still got the Pelicans, our kind of our favorite team out west, because Rex Walter, an assistant coach for the team, as I say every week, is a friend of the show. What else do we want to talk about here? We talked a little about the Knicks. We talked about the Nets. We talked about the coach of the year outlook. The MVP watch, look at it. It's probably going to be Joel Embiid, or it's going to be Jokic from Denver. Jokic is a really good player. He does not get the press because of where he plays. But he's a really, really good NBA player. And I think Julius Randle will finish in the top 3 or 4. He has to. Again, if you're just talking about the guys, if you took them off the team, how it would affect that team the most, Randle might be the MVP. Well, Denver wouldn't be very good without Jokic, probably. But the Sixers have played a lot without Embiid and won games. He's a great player. That's not to take anything away from Joel Embiid. He's a great player. Let's wrap up the NBA with a little bit of talk about the Hall of Fame. Rick brought it up earlier. I know that Mac has posted some stuff on Northeast Streaming Sports about the Hall of Fame coverage. I'm still a little in the dark about how we're going to do this. I know we're supposed to have a show at 2:00 on Friday to talk about to cover the press conferences. Don't know what's going to go on with the coverage for Saturday's induction, if we're doing anything there. But my show Friday morning at 8 a.m. is going to be covering. Let's back up here. Yep. So Rick talks about MJ presents Colby on Saturday. He has 2 restaurants at the Mohegan Sun. Can't ask for autographs due to COVID-19. So you're going, Rick, I guess, right? I remember you putting a comment up about that before. Yeah, anyway, my show Friday morning, I'm going to do a preview show of my own. And just to kind of let you know, here's the inductees. And again, this isn't just the NBA, obviously. This is Basketball Hall of Fame. There's some college people going in. Patrick Baumann, will be presented by Russ Grasnick and Vladi Divac. Kobe Bryant, obviously, posthumously, sadly, will be inducted into the Hall of Fame and presented by probably the only person that could induct or present Kobe Bryant, I think, is, as Rick says here, Michael Jordan. Tamika Catchings from the WNBA will be presented by Alonzo Mourning and Dawn Staley. Tim Duncan, great player for the Spurs, will be presented by, fittingly, David Robinson, who he teamed with there for many years and really kind of took over the leadership of that team from. Kevin Garnett will be presented by Isaiah Thomas. Not sure about the relationship there, but we'll look into it. Kim Mulkey will be presented again by Michael Jordan. Jordan will be very busy that day, apparently. Barbara Stevens, presented by Gino Auriemma and Muffet McGraw. Eddie Sutton, great college coach, took, Creighton, Arkansas, Kentucky, Oklahoma State, all to the NCAA tournament, and he took Arkansas, Kentucky. I don't know if he took Kentucky to the Final Four. He didn't, but he did take Oklahoma State to the Final Four. Great coach, and he'll be presented by John Calipari, Bill Self, and Sidney Moncrief, one of his great players at Arkansas. Takes 3 people to present Eddie Sutton. And Rudy Tomjanovich, great player and coach for the Houston Rockets, won consecutive world championships with the Rockets in the 90s as a coach. Obviously was on the bad end of The Punch. I think it was The Punch is the name of the book by John Feinstein. It's about Kermit Washington punching Rudy Tomjanovich during a fight in an NBA game in the 70s. It's a great book. I think it's The Punch. If you haven't read it, it's great. John Feinstein stuff is all great. But anyway, Rudy will be presented by Calvin Murphy and Akeem Olajuwon, very fittingly, I think, for both of those presentations. So that's it. We'll let you know. I'll be doing some. I'll go live a couple of times if I have to, or post a video to talk about what's going on with our coverage on Northeast Streaming Sports for the Hall of Fame inductions, the press conferences Friday, and all of that. We'll get some information. I hope to have it tomorrow night. And again, as I said before, as we move into a little bit of football, we don't have a lot of time. I'm going to wrap up a couple minutes early, I think. We'll see how this goes. We might get into something here that doesn't allow me to wrap up early, but we're going to cover. Northeast Streaming Sports has adopted kind of the Connecticut Falcons as their team in this Triborough semi-professional league, and we're going to be doing some promotions with the Triborough semi-pro league in general. But we're going to be doing an experiment in broadcasting. We'll see how it goes. I'll know more about this tomorrow. Potentially broadcasting their games remotely on Northeast Streaming Sports. And I may be doing the play-by-play for this first game, and Jamie Paggs, a Philly sports guy, will be doing the color. So we'll see how that goes. I'll have an announcement about that this coming week as well, about how we're going to handle that and cover that. So I don't have all the details, and if it doesn't happen, don't blame me. But there'll be more to come with that. We're trying to put this affiliation together with this semi-pro league, which, by the way, also has affiliates down south in Florida, and connections. There's some leagues that are tied together, and they play for these national championships and whatnot. And as you guys locally know here, there's a great tie-in, as I told Mac from Mac and Jack Sports, is a great tie-in with the great Colonial teams that you guys are certainly well familiar with, the local guys playing in the Empire Football League. Obviously, they've since folded, and there's been a couple incarnations, but it was great football back in the day. And there are still leagues out there with guys who are aspiring to get to another level, and many of them do. We'll talk about some of the guys in the coming weeks that have gone from this Triborough League and gotten a shot in the NFL. Speaking of the NFL, What do we got news-wise in the NFL other than freaking Aaron Rodgers? Guys, I said this to Rick earlier when he joined. If I didn't get a chance to chat about it today, watch my vlog from Friday because I'm tired of Aaron Rodgers. I'm going to talk about it here. If Rick and you guys want to comment and get into it, great. If not, I'm also going to say to you, this is your time to shine. Bring a topic. There we go. It's your turn. Bring a topic. If you want to talk about something, now's the time to do it. We got 10 minutes, 11 minutes. I'm going to talk quickly about Aaron Rodgers. I'll look for your comments. If you've got something you want to chat about anywhere in the world of sports, bring it up, and we'll talk about it right now for 10 minutes. Actually, this worked out great last week when we got to talking about great coaches, great players becoming great coaches and stuff. We actually had a pretty good back and forth that day. I liked it a lot. Again, watch my vlog. Aaron Rodgers needs to stop. It's come out this week that Aaron Rodgers, again, you all know Aaron Rodgers said he's not coming back to the Packers. He has no leverage. If I'm the Packers, I just let him sit. Don't clutch your $96 million. Just go home. We'll replace you. We won't trade you. Call his bluff. He's got no leverage. You signed Rodgers. Sit out. That's what I say, Rick. Sit out. It's not just that he doesn't want to play. It's come out this week now, if you haven't seen the story, guys, that he was telling free agents before last season that he wasn't coming. Don't expect him to be around after 2021. That's totally inhibiting the team's ability to build a winning team, which he's complaining about, the fact that he can't. The team will put good players around him, but he's telling good players, if you come here, I may not be around. That is beyond the pale. I'm sorry. You're hurting the team that you say won't help you. Ridiculous. Watch the vlog, guys. I go into this in great detail. Well, look at Aaron Rodgers has had a good enough team put around him to get the 2 Super Bowls, win 1. If you got there, you're good enough to win it. He's gotten I don't know how many NFC championship games. Could have been in the Super Bowl last year if he just runs into the end zone. That's on you, Aaron. The difference between you and Tom Brady is 2 things. Off the field, Tom Brady would restructure his contract so the team could put better players around him and compete year after year after year after year for 20 years. Banging on my computer. Sorry, I'm a bit shaking. And on the field, Tom Brady takes what's given to him. That's why he has 6 Super Bowl rings, Aaron. He doesn't look to make the grandiose play down the field, scramble around, throw the ball sidearm, throw the ball around this guy. He looks and he takes what's given to him all day long. You don't do that. If you did that, you'd have walked into the end zone last year and you'd have been in the Super Bowl and not Tom Brady. Not hard to figure out, Aaron. Sorry, guys. Let's see. Anything else up here? No, I guess not. Anyway, Aaron, time for you to shut up. Time for you to, either come to camp or don't come to camp. If I'm the Packers, I don't trade you. Sit out. Don't collect your money. You think you're going to host Jeopardy? You're wrong. No, I keep bringing that up. Anderson Cooper's in the lead, by the way. Bill Whitaker is okay this week, but I feel like I'm watching a 60 Minutes interview every time I hear him talk. Love Bill Whitaker, but again, I don't think he's going to do well. Anderson Cooper, leader in the clubhouse in my mind. What else? Good news for the Jets, I guess, and the fact that Zach Wilson, who his maturity level has been questioned or was questioned before the draft, is saying all the right things about knowing he must earn the job as the starting quarterback of the Jets, although I don't know who's going to compete with him right now. Which is good because, again, there's questions about his maturity level and things like that. So it's good to hear the guy talk about the fact that that, he's got to win this job. He can't just be giving it to him. See what Rodgers doesn't throw if he might be intercepted to protect his numbers. Well, that's true, too. He also doesn't run when he thinks he can throw an exceptional pass and make some great play. I feel like my video's off right now. I don't know why. Oh, I know why. Because somehow I started this. Hold on, guys. Let me turn this off. How do I get to it? There we go. Every time I turn on the ticker, my video gets screwed up. So sorry if I got look like a Godzilla movie here the last few minutes. So yes, Drew. Again, he's a selfish player. Selfish player. He doesn't do what he can do to help the team win. He looks up at his own numbers. He wants to collect his money, and he doesn't care about the team winning. He just doesn't. He blames the team for not bringing guys in. Oh, let me switch off here. Talk about something that won't tick me off. Big push for LeVar Burton to host Jeopardy. Wow, I have not read his name as being one of the potential candidates. I know Bill Whitaker is finishing up this week, and then I can never say her name. Blossom. Can't say her name. Malik Balak. I have no idea. I'll butcher her name. Maybe Drew knows it. She was on The Big Bang Theory. Lost connection. Does slamming Rodgers get you booted? Not on my show. Not on my show, Rick. Maybe that's why my page is gone from Facebook, because I've been bashing Aaron Rodgers for the last month. Guys, we're going to talk a lot more about the NFL in the coming weeks too. And we got a lot to cover. NHL, NBA playoffs coming up, baseball hitting full stride, and NFL OTAs, which look like they're going to be good to go for teams to be off site or on site. COVID restrictions going to be lifted a little bit for them. Yeah, how do you say it? I don't know. Mayim Bialik. Mayim Bialik. There you go. I think I got it. I think she's coming up after Bill Whitaker. Not positive, but all over the board here at the end, streaming consciousness. That's all I got, guys. We're going to wrap it up. I want to thank Jim Beringer for coming on this morning, talking the Rangers this morning and NHL playoff talking. Oh, that's what I think about Aaron Rodgers. Anyway, thank Danny McLean for our interview Friday. It was awesome. Thank you guys for watching. Thank all the groups that are going to let me share this. Friday we'll be on. Maybe I'll find somebody to do the show and talk about the Hall of Fame inductions with me. I may bring a writer on to kind of review it a little bit, or maybe I'd do it myself. And we'll be back to guess a week from Friday. And then look for the announcements this week about our coverage of the Hall of Fame inductions on Northeast Streaming Sports, and also a potential live semi-pro game. Guys, have a great Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all of your mothers and any of the mothers that see this. Keith Engel, TGI Sports Talk on the Northeast Streaming Sports Network and Zodiac TV. Have a great day.